Will you join me in prayer? O God of our lives, the mingling of wheat and weeds, we give you this time and these words, that you might fashion grace through Jesus Christ. Amen. So I have never quite been able to figure out whether the life of Jacob is weed or wheat. With human beings, it can be kind of hard to sift, you might say, to thresh out what's what in life. I'm sure that when Rebekah first held little Jacob in her arms, it was just pure wheat, not a weed to be found. That's the way it is at the beginning, at the root of it all, isn't it? Last weekend, I presided at the wedding of my niece in Kelowna, my brother's daughter. And it just so happened that 4 days previous to that, her sister gave birth to the first grandchild of that part of our family, 4 days before she was to be married. And so, there at the wedding was at this gorgeous celebration of love, there was this beautiful child, a disheveled mop of black hair and a perfect little mouth. My brother gave toasts and sang in celebration of the day. And one of the things that he said was just very profound. He spoke of the amazing convergence of this wedding and this birth on this week, and how clear it is when you hold a newborn in your arms, how clear life is. It's just so clear that this person is perfect, just perfect. Overwhelmingly, disarmingly perfect. And there is nothing that little one needs to do. Nothing. It's all done. They are in every way just right. And he said, we spend our lives trying to live up to some expectation of how we should be, but the truth is, it's done. It always was. And then life happens. And it is an amazing journey to see how that perfect one will engage with life and the world. And that's an amazing ride. Well, like most of us on that ride, Jacob, in our story from the Bible today, doesn't engage life cleanly. Neither completely weedy or completely wheaty. His life is a mix, like the field in Jesus' parable. In the lectionary, which are the set of readings that we follow week by week by week, if we are in communion with a lot of the rest of the Christian church around the world, this is a season when that set of readings follows the story of Jacob. His struggle in utero with his brother Esau, the shrewd deal with Esau involving a bowl of stew in trade for the rights of the firstborn son in their culture. And then there's the tricking of his father with his mother's encouragement so that he received the blessing instead of Esau. This part of the story of our ancestors out of the book of Genesis is like the source book of sibling rivalry. It's an incredible piece of work. And on this front, Jacob has always been one to take his own fate into his own hands, quite literally at birth, grabbing on to the heel of his brother. So he is given the name Yaakov, Jacob, meaning heel. And he goes on to act like one over and over and over again. He's the supplanter, the trickster, the one that's trying to get ahead for himself. And you're never sure whether you're dealing with wheat or whether you're dealing with weeds, which Jacob is going to show up now. But now, in today's reading, he is clearly in the weeds, on the run. All the shady dealing has caught up with him. His latest deception has cost him dearly, and he's fleeing for his life. Leaving homeland, family, everything, perhaps trying to get a jump on God as well. He's exhausted, and finally he can delay sleep no longer, and so, placing his head on a stone, he falls asleep. Asleep, he is vulnerable. Sleep opens him up, since in sleep, only the relaxed, unconscious mind stands guard. We know about this. Whatever control we believe we have over our minds in waking times, we lose when we fall asleep. And dreams come, unbidden dreams. They speak a language not of our own making. They follow a narrative that we have no control over. Dreams exist in that in-between reality. And for Jacob, it's the reality between a shady past and an unknown future. I heard it once said that in such moments, we may be more open to the movement of the divine in our lives, these in-between moments, these dream moments. While Jacob, he's never really left anything up to the movement of God in his life. He's always tried to take control. Never let anything be open. Never considered that God might have a higher purpose for him. His plans were always kind of better in his mind than God's purposes. Now, leaving things up to God and God's purposes is a bad idea in Jacob's world. But here, in sleep, he is at last open to a divine vision. Guard down. And the vision is one of graceful connection. Heaven and earth connected with a ladder. Angels, messengers of God connecting. I mean, what a wonderful vision. Unseen by us, angels moving in and out of life with messages of grace, if we are open to it. It's behind the veil of our perceived control. God is intimately involved in what's going on. God is not that far-off watchmaker God who wound up the creation and set it ago and steps back to watch as it all winds down. No. Intimately connected, intimately involved. There's a back and forth with God. And then the vision becomes richer still. Jacob sees God beside him. Now, I have no idea what that might look like. This time it's not messages from God or messages of God's grace translated through messengers. No. This is God's very self. Whatever that experience might be for him. But in the story, for a moment, Jacob's eyes are opened and he sees a deep truth that pre-exists him, and that is that God is there, has been there all along, right there beside him. And that's the first part of the vision. But then God goes on to explain, it is always thus. I am always there. But continues, I will keep you, says God. You are not alone, and your fate is not only in your hands. I will keep you. I will not leave you without fulfilling my promise. Now that is grace. It's grace for any of us, and it's certainly grace for Jacob on the run. You don't have to strive, beg, borrow, steal for anything, Jacob. For approval, for birthright, for blessing. You don't have to trick it out of me. It's yours. It was from the very beginning. Now, when Jacob wakes, he's aware that this has been a holy place. It's been a holy experience. And he sets his pillow stone on its end, and he anoints it with oil to mark the spot. And he calls the spot Bethel, Bet-El, the home of God. Bet, the home, El, God, like Bethlehem, the home of bread. Bethel, God's home. And then he moves on. Sort of. Because can you ever completely move on from an awakening of that nature? This is Beth-El and a Beth-El experience. This dream sequence is an awesome revelation for Jacob. And it's made its mark. It's made its mark on the stone, but it's made its mark in here as well. I was reading some online commentary on this story and some midrash, some story about the story and writing about the writing. And one poetic person wrote, here in this place, this ordinary place, in this holy ordinary place where ladders descend from heaven, rocks arise as altars, God lives here in this place we did not choose, where tubes and machines breathe for those we love. God lives here in this place between, on this road here where we yet don't know the destination and where stones cradle our heads and the destination has no name. God lives here in this place, here. And we and Jacob return to our lives. And when we do, these wheat and weed lives, our striped existence, we continue on our way, having been to Bethel, the home of God, having had a moment on the way in which we became aware that indeed we are not alone, have never been. And indeed we carry with us not only the imprint of presence, but a promise that God will keep us. And we continue to act as if we are masters of our own destiny because, well, wheat and weeds, right? That's all of us. Yet, forever there is in the recesses of our heart mind an imprint of Bethel. That time and place when we were aware of angels and when we sensed our divine companion and when we knew the holiness of our lives. And maybe it's a pre-awareness memory that we are born with, and maybe those experiences connect with that moment when someone holds us and says, "It's done. It's already done." Maybe it's that. It's really hard to hang on to that sometimes, to be acutely aware of it sometimes. And that's why when this beautiful, perfect person that you are engages the world, sometimes weeds grows and sometimes weeds grow. But that awareness, if we stop for a moment and breathe for a moment and ground ourselves in the place we are, it's never really gone. It will return. It will come back to us. And it is especially important that we remind one another of it. And like Jacob, we will once again find ourselves with our guard down, and we will wake up in the house of God and at the gate of heaven, and we will remember that God is right here and that God will keep you. Because it's already done. Thanks be to God.